I have a theory. If something is painted black, it's probably good for photography. So black garden sieve. Yeah. Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that's got everything for us photographers. And this video has a connection between a garden sieve and some lace fabric. They are both going to make great cookies. And cookies are something that casts shadows. This video is all about creating the sharpest possible shadows in a small home studio. Now to get there, we're going to play around with light a little bit, and we're going to play around with light modifiers like this. I've just thought of another one, hold on. I've forgotten about this. Underneath the rug is this. It's got holes, it's black. This is going to make a great cookie too. Right, you need to click on the bell icon and the subscribe button so you never miss a video right here on Adorama TV. Whilst you're doing that, I'm going to set a light up. Let's get a model in. Let's get shooting. So to help me out today, I've got the amazing Sophie. Sophie's going to be the model for this photo session, but before we get going, we should have a very quick look at the difference between hard light and soft light. Well, actually, it's not the light, it's the shadows, because normally I would take pictures of Sophie using one of these, a softbox. It gives lovely, soft, flattering lighting and looks gorgeous, rather than using one of these, which is a standard reflector, and the shadows from this are much crisper and sharper. And frankly, it's just a little less flattering. So why do I get softer light with this one compared to the reflector? Well, it's simply because of its size relative to the subject. The bigger the light source, the softer the shadows. The smaller the light source, the harder the shadows. And for this setup, we want the hardest shadows possible, so we want the smallest light source possible. So we'll start with this one. Usually when I'm working in the studio, the first picture I take is without any flash, and that's important, but today it's essential. So I've dialed in some settings, f5.6, ISO 200, 250th of a second, the native settings for my particular camera. And I'm going to take a picture of Sophie without any flash firing. Here we go. And I've got no flash, no picture. That means I've got the usual control of the room lights, but in this case, those are the darkest possible shadows that I can actually get in this photo session. And as this session is all about the shadows, that's really important. Let's run through the basic setup. The first thing you need is something to cast an interesting shadow. And I've got the classic black lace. To the left is Sophie, to the right is my flash, and the flash is the Flashpoint Explore 300. I've got the reflector on, and they're roughly equidistant apart. Now, I've already metered this out for f5.6, and there's a reason I'm using the Flashpoint Explore 300 over something like a speedlight, and it's because it has a really good modeling lamp. Now, this allows me to see the projection of the black lace fabric on the wall. I can see it on Sophie. This is all going to look really good. Let's take a test photo, see what we get. Here we go, Sophie. And when I do, well, what just happened? It's disappeared. There isn't that amazing pattern. I can see it with my eyes, but the camera can't. And that's because the camera sees the flash tube, we're seeing the modeling lamp, and they are not the same light. Probably the easiest solution for this is just to make the light smaller. So I'm going to do that by increasing the distance between the flash and the object we're casting a shadow from, the black lace. So at the moment, I can see the projection, it's there, but it's not particularly sharp. As I move the light further away, it becomes relatively smaller and therefore much harder, which makes the light we're projecting much sharper. And that's about as far back as I can possibly get it in my small home studio. So that is as good as it's going to be. Of course, if you move the light, you need to re-meter the light. So I'm going to put my flash meter this side of the fabric, and you might think the other side would be better, but Sophie is so close to the fabric, it's really not going to make any difference at all. Right, back to f5.6. Let's take a test photo and see how this looks. Okay, Sophie, here we go. And straight away you can see the vast improvement. Now we can actually see the shadows projected onto Sophie. This is what we're aiming for. Now I could stop there, but I've also got this, which is a conical snoot. And when you compare the size of the light you get from a standard reflector compared to a conical snoot, well, this is obviously much smaller. And as we know, smaller light sources give us crisper shadows, which is exactly what we want So let's pop that on there. The only downside with the conical snoot is it takes a lot of light away. We can put the modelling lamp on just to make sure that we get it in the right place, because it's also much more directional than the other light. And I'm going to increase the power of that. Well, I'm not going to try and meter, it's too small a light source. I'm going to guess half power. Let's see how that looks. Okay, Sophie, here we go. Yeah, huge difference. Now we have much crisper shadows, and in my small home studio, those shadows are as sharp as I'm going to get. The only thing I might want to change is the back of Sophie where she's disappearing into the shadows, and for that I'm going to use a second light. So this is an optional light. It is the Flashpoint Evolve 200. It's on its lowest possible power, and it's just going to put a little bit of an edge light on Sophie just to lift her off of this black background. Let's just test that, see how it looks. Okay, Sophie, here we go. Fantastic. So that's the lighting setup. I've got a whole bunch of different things we can use to cast shadows, but for now, let's start with this and see where we go. Sophie, are you ready? Okay, let's take some photos. The more you look around the house, the more weird things you find that might work. So I've got a few different things to try. And let's start with this, which is actually the rubber matting that normally lives underneath the rugs to stop them sliding around. In theory, anything that blocks light but also has holes in it should work, so this is a placemat. I don't think we've ever used it as a placemat. Let's see how this goes. Not sure if this is going to work. This is a sieve from the garden. A lot more holes than I was expecting, but well, let's give it a try. So from random placemats to garden equipment to black lace, I gotta say, it really has been great fun playing with random objects and seeing what creates great shadows. Some things definitely work better than others. Now, if you've enjoyed this video or you've got any questions, don't forget to leave me a comment down below. Click on the bell icon and you'll never miss a video right here in Adorama TV. And we have new videos, well, pretty much every single day. And of course, remember to click on that subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.